Yep. This video is on how to replace the seals in a swivel mixer. So we've got a swivel mixer mounted up on this display today. The seals that we want to replace are in between these two join lines here, just in the back here. So the tools that we're going to need for today's job: a shifting spanner or a torque wrench. And if we're going to be using a torque wrench, we must make sure that it's set on 8 Newton meters, no more, no less. We're going to need a 2.5mm Allen key. Going to need either general purpose or enamel thinner, which we've got here today. Going to need a towel, some general purpose paper towel, soft rubberized glove that won't damage the finish on the tapware, and 2 pairs of disposable gloves. Now we will supply for this job from Faucet Strommen a seal kit and grease. Right, so step 1 is to turn off the mains water. Now it may be at the mains tap coming into the property, or if you've got isolated taps under the bench, you can turn these off. Need to release the pressure from the tap, so we're going to turn the handle on, wait till the water stops running out of the aerator and we know the pressure is released. And the next step is to remove the handle from the tap. So with this one, the location of the grub screw is underneath the handle, so we'll put the 2.5mm Allen key in there, unscrew, lift the handle off, place it in a safe place where it's not going to get damaged. Next step is to remove this bezel cover here, or what we call a domed cover. Unscrew that anti-clockwise. You're left with a lock nut. Now the threads on this are sometimes sharp, so be careful of your hands. We're going to remove that using our shifting spanner or our torque wrench, so I'm going to use the shifting spanner today. Place it over the flaps, unscrew. Lift the valve out now. And this is where we may need our towel. There could be a few drips around here that we may need to dry off first. Our next step is to remove this cylinder cover here that houses the valve. So we're going to need to get this off of that swivel there. Now these can sometimes be tight, so we're going to have to put on our rubberized gloves here. With one hand you can hold the base of the mixer, which is this bottom piece here, and the other hand you can unscrew that cylinder cover. Now it can be tight, you're going to need to unscrew it. All the way off. I'll put this in a safe place. Then we remove the spout. It's good practice to swivel from left to right when you're lifting it up so it doesn't roll or damage any of the current seals. Lift it all the way off. I want to remove this Teflon ring here. Next step is to put on our first pair of disposable gloves. We're going to be removing these seals on the body, these 2 black seals here. So these have got grease on them, so hence the reason we've got our gloves on. So we're going to just put our finger in there, peel them away. Don't use any tools for this because you could damage the seal on the brass body there. So we remove these by hand. We also need to remove this base white Teflon ring here as well. Get that off. Then we need to clean out the grooves on the body. So the grooves underneath my finger here. So I've marked it on this body here just so you can see that where the blue lines are. You need to make sure that they are clean and lint free. So to clean them, we're going to use our thinners, our paper towel. We're going to wet the paper towel Now we just at this step we must make sure that none of this thinners gets on any ceramic or finished tap surface parts. So we're going to clean in those grooves there and the top one. Ensure that they're very clean before our next step. Then we're going to put on another pair of disposable gloves, and we're going to get the seal kit and grease sachet that have been supplied. So we're going to cut the corner off this grease sachet, just the very corner off the bag. We're either going to use a pair of scissors or a knife. And we're going to squeeze this grease into the bottom and the top groove, and you can go all the way around, just a little. Don't need a lot of grease for that step. Then we're going to unpack our seal kit. We're going to get the seals out. It's good practice to leave the seals on top of the bag that you take them out of so they stay dirt free. These black seals here have to be very clean for this next step. We're going to get the first white Teflon ring. We're going to place it over the body, so drop it down until it goes to the very bottom. Make sure it's flat, housed down the bottom there. We're going to get our first black, what we call a lip seal. Now notice with these seals they've got a little ridge all the way around. So with the base one it's what we call a cup up, and the top one is cup down. These are also sometimes referred to as lip seals. So lip up and lip down. So lip up on the base one, so we'll put it over the top of the mixer. Now we need to be careful that we don't cut this seal on the top thread of the body as we're putting it down. Roll it all the way into the center of the mixer here, and we can get it all orientated correctly. Then we're going to pull it down, house it into that bottom groove where we've just greased. Now we need to make sure that it's perfectly straight all the way around and there's no rolls in it, otherwise it'll lead to leaks. Now the same with the top seal, so we're going to go cup or lip down on this one, place it on top of the mixer. Again, careful that it doesn't cut on the top thread. Push it all the way down and house it into that groove there, ensuring again that there's no rolls in the seal. Then we're going to take our disposable gloves off, and we're going to just lightly grease the top and bottom seal that we've just put on all the way around. Then we're going to get the spout that we pulled off the tap, and we're going to clean out the inside bore of the spout, which is inside here. So we're going to use our enamel thinner or general purpose thinner again, and some paper towel. We're going to ensure that we don't get it on the outside chrome surface of the tap. We're going to clean inside of the bore. Clean around in there. Ensure that that's clean. Place the spout over the body. Good practice to swivel from left to right to avoid rolling those seals that we've so carefully put on. Once that's down, you'll notice that that gap decrease until it's very close. Next step is to get our other white seal, our other white wear ring, place it over the top of the mixer. It sits down nice and flush there. And then we replace our cylinder back onto the mixer. So you'll notice there's two sides to this cylinder. This side's got a little lip on it, and that side's flat. So it's flat side up, little lip down so it can hide that white seal. So that goes onto the mixer like that. Clockwise to tighten all the way down. Hold the base of the mixer, tighten it down till it stops. And that should be just enough swivel for the spout. The next step is to put the valve back into the mixer. So here's the base of the valve. Must remember the two lugs here have corresponding holes in the body in here that we need to make sure they match. Drop the valve in, houses down, and we put our lock nut back on top of the valve. Screw it down by hand, remembering the threads can be sharp. We need to tighten it down with either a spanner or a torque wrench. Now if we're using a torque wrench, remember the step of 8 Newton meters, no more, no less. So use a spanner, tighten it down. Now before we move on to the next step, we'll turn the water back on and look for leaks around the top of this brass lock nut and the cylinder of the tap. So we need to look all the way around that top section. If there's no leaks, we can keep going with our next step, which is to replace the domed cover back onto the top of the mixer. Screw that back down, all the way down till it stops, tweak it up, and the handle back onto the mixer, drop that on, correct orientation, onto the spline of onto the stem of the valve, all the way down till it stops. Feel the action here, make sure it works correctly. Then we'll retighten our handle on, again under the handle for Zeos like we've got on here today. Tighten it nice and tight on the handle, and we're done.